I am dangerous. Way. And when the sun comes shine and it shines so bright, I am dangerous. Way. And when the breeze come blow and it blows so cold, I get dangerous. Way. Dangerous. Yeah. I get dangerous. Way. Dangerous. Way. I get dangerous. Yeah. If I go to a dance on the dance it drum, I am dangerous. Way. And if my song it play and the next sound test, I am dangerous. Way. And if a singer come test one come jump in my test, I am dangerous. Way. Dangerous. Yeah. I am dangerous. Way. Dangerous. Yeah. I am dangerous. Way. I say I went to a stage, so when the stage go round, I am dangerous. Way. And when the people shout and the young girls scream, I get dangerous. Way. And when the drummer play and the bassman play, I get dangerous. Way. And when I feel the vibes and the vibes it's right, I get dangerous. Way. Dangerous. Yeah. I get dangerous. Way. I get dangerous. Yeah, in God who I put my trust. Way. Dangerous. Hey, I get dangerous. Yeah. When the sun comes shine and the rain come fall, I am dangerous. Way. When the breeze come blow and it blows so cold, I am dangerous. Way. And when the moon at night and it shines so bright, I am dangerous. Way. Dangerous. Way. I am dangerous. Yeah. I am dangerous. Yeah. I am dangerous. Yeah. If I go to a dance and the dance it round, I get dangerous. Way. And when my sound play and the next sound test, I get dangerous. Way. And if a singer come test, one come jump in my test, I get dangerous. Way. Dangerous. Yeah. I get dangerous.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is that why you are here?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Film Radio Show. My name's Stephen Lloyd Jackson. I'll be your host for the next 2 hours.
This country, you gotta make the money. Then when you get the money, you get the power.
Say hello to my little friend!
Every Tuesday night from 12 till 2 in the morning.
I'm going deep, 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 deep undercover.
All the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine.
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
What do you think this is, the army where you shoot them a mile away? You gotta get them close like this, bada bing, you blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit.
The S.O. Jackson Radio Show. On topfm.net. Let's paint the picture for the audience.
Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
This is Sparta! Show me the money!
3, 2, 1.
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I have a dream.
So make sure you join me and my co-host Charlie Emsis every Tuesday night. Each week we'll be discussing my all-time favourite movies and listening to some great music. The S.O. Jackson Radio Show on ontopfm.net.
That's all, folks.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the S.O. Jackson Radio Show on ontopfm.net. My name is Stephen Lloyd Jackson, and I'll be your host for the next 2 hours, along with my co-host, Charlie Emsis. How are you, Charlie?
I'm great, Steve. How are you?
Oh, I'm feeling really good. You know, we've got a great show on this evening. We've got some great music of the film's era. We're going to be talking about the 1987 mystical, supernatural, detective crime story, Angel Heart.
You will not be the same after you watch this film.
Definitely not, Charlie. You know, I know a lot of people that's seen this movie and they said out of a bunch of movies they've seen in their life, this one definitely stays in their head as being one of the most memorable, the most craziest, the most complex plot-driven movie that they've ever seen.
Yeah, and it's written and directed by Alan Parker from a novel by William Hortzberg.
Director Alan Parker, you know, he's an English director. He's from England, born in Islington, grew up there. He's from a working class background. He was born in 1944. He done such great movies like Bugs Me Malone, Fame, Evita, Mississippi Burning, Midnight Express, which we're going to feature on our show in a few months' time. Great movies he's done. He actually started his career in advertising as a copyright executive, and he moved on to form alliances with the likes of David Putman, another British producer. From there on, he crept into film, and the rest is history, as they say.
He's extremely talented. I saw Mississippi Burning, and he has a great conviction in his storytelling.
Oh, wasn't that film just great? There's a fashion of racial films coming out now, and Mississippi Burning definitely is one to watch. Did you know, Charlie, that Alan Parker, he says he wants to make a film in every single genre that he can?
I think he has. Is he still alive?
Yeah, he's still alive. Well, last I known, yes. What could we say about Angel Art? It's one of these movies that you tend to think about because of the plot is so deep, it's intricate, but it's simple at the same time. I know that may sound like a dichotomy, but it's the truth. We're going to pick this film apart. We're going to take you on this supernatural journey. It's a great film. It stars Mickey Rourke, Lisa Bonet, Robert De Niro, Angel Art.
It's a very special film. One of the best atmospheres in cinema history, from the opening shot, the lighting, the music, the tone of the film. It will creep into your subconscious while you're watching it.
And speaking of the music as well, we got my guy Courtney Pine. He's a British saxophonist, actually sprinkling some melodies throughout the film as well. But the bulk of the music was composed by Trevor Jones. Great music. The cinematography by Michael Saracen.
In the 80s, they used film stock, right? And this, you can tell, it's completely different to current movies when they use digital cameras.
Basically, film stock's the old-time celluloid actual film that some of you may have used to load your camera with.
You feel like you're swimming into this movie. It's a very heavy movie.
Very heavy indeed. Before we go any further, I must mention that if you haven't seen this film before and you do not want to know what's going to happen, cork your ears. Tonight we're going to be specialising on, and it's the kind of music I haven't played on my show often, but I do love it and I grew up with it. We're going to be playing a lot of reggae music tonight. 95% of the music we're playing tonight is reggae music. We've only got like one R&B track there. So all the music's taken from the 1987 era in which this film was made. Let's roll the ball and let's pull in the punches and get this thing off the ground.
Yeah, so the film opens up in New York City in 1955. We open up, we see it's produced by Mario Kassar and Andrew Vaina. They're big-time producers on Terminator, Rambo.
Indeed. And I like the opening of this film because the writing just comes up on the black, and we see this down part of New York City where the steam's coming up from the ground. We're in some kind of back alley where we see this lone figure just walking by.
He's got a stick with him. He's got a walking stick.
Yeah, and then after we see this kind of malnourished cat and we see this dog. So already Parker is painting a picture for the audience what to expect. We see this dog scavenging around some bins and he chases off the cat. And this is a night scene, remember, very gritty and dark. And as the camera moves along, it comes across this body just lying there in the gutter with its throat cut. It could be some kind of ritualistic kind of killing or whatever. We're not quite too sure yet.
Cats, dogs, murder, creepy jazz music. We're in for the ride here.
That was kind of like an epilogue. On the screen, it says New York 1955. We see this kind of very shabby, fleabaggy private detective
played by Mickey Rourke. And this is in downtown Brooklyn, basically. And he's just walking by, he's saying hello. He obviously knows the neighborhood, knows the people well.
Cigarette in his mouth.
Cigarette, he's smoking away, he's unshaven, unkempt.
The telephone's ringing now, and he finally enters his apartment, and it's like a really messy little
office. Yeah, and it's a really messy office, you know, stuff all over the place.
Smoke everywhere. He answers the phone, and I think we realize it's an attorney by the name of Winesap.
Yeah, and Winesap, he works for a well-respected law firm. So Winesap has called him, and he wants to hire Mickey Rourke's character, and he plays Harry Angel, of course. So he wants to hire Harry Angel. He's acting as an intermediate for his other client by the name of Louis Cypher. And we actually see Mickey Rourke write down the name Louis Cypher. He asks Winesap, is he a foreigner? Is he, what kind of name is that like?
Cypher, yeah. Okay. What is it, foreigner? If your client a foreign gentleman?
So that's intricate to the plot. Louis Cypher. So he actually writes down that name. We learn that the meeting's going to be held in a church in Harlem. So he writes down Harlem. And the next shot we see Mickey Rourke driving down to Harlem. As he's about to enter the building, there's a group of African Americans, men and women, and they're trying to console an hysterical African American female. And they're all dressed in black as if they've just attended or they're going to attend a funeral.
Walks up the stairs. You see a lot of motifs in this film over and over again. You see like a very dark staircase, a lot of shadows of railings just hitting the light.
And also cage doors and everything.
Yeah.
So anyway, Mickey Rourke, he actually enters like a church hall, and we could see where there's a pastor there, an African-American pastor, and he's preaching away, and he's saying, there's nothing wrong with me as a pastor driving a Cadillac. And he says, if you love me, if you really love me, I should actually be driving a Rolls Royce. So put your money in the kitty. And you see a lot of, it's mainly an African-American congregation waving up money, ready to give to him. So everything's very highfalutin and
comes across very corrupt. That he's a priest, so he can get people's money.
Preacher, yeah.
And then Mickey Rourke, he meets up with Winesap. He's waiting for him on a mezzanine, top of this congregation. And they walk past this room with a lady dressed in black, wiping down blood off a wall. And he says someone's killed themselves in that room last night.
That's right. One of the congregations had shot themselves, blew their head out, all the blood splattered along the wall. So he's kind of jarred by all this kind of behavior that's carrying on. You got pandemonium, preaching carrying on, and vibrantness from audience. And then you walk past the room, you see all this blood on the wall, and I can imagine, his mind is saying to him, this is something weird going on. Winesap and Harry Angel, they enter a room, and there we have Louis Cypher sitting in a chair with a stick, again, as Charlie mentioned at the opening of the film, with a stick. And this character's played by Robert De Niro.
Mr. Angel, allow me to introduce my client, Monsieur Louis Cypher.
Hi, Harry Angel.
Pleased to meet you, Mr. Angel.
Robert De Niro, what can we say about him? He's got long fingernails. They're chiseled to sort of look like claws. He's got a beard, his long hair slicked back, and he's got a mood ring with the sign of a pentacle, a star, and of course his stick. And he's sitting down on this sort of throne, one leg folded over the other, looking at our character with contempt.
He asks Harry Angel for ID. Harry shows him the ID. Mickey Rourke's character shows him his gun permit license, his driver's license. And then after, they start to talk and Mickey Rourke incidentally says, how did you get to choose me? And Robert De Niro's character, Cypher, he says, you were chosen, and you'll know why you're chosen. He didn't say in that explicit way, but he gave off that energy to say, you're going to find out why you were chosen.
Do you by chance remember the name Johnny Favorite?
Remember the name Johnny? No, I don't think so.
You never knew him?
Am I supposed to know him?
He was a crooner before the war, quite famous in his way.
But
yeah, Mickey Rourke doesn't like him. You can tell. He's like, "What's wrong with you?"
Well, I just think he finds the whole episode weird. And De Niro's character tell him that he wants him to look for a guy. This guy owes him a favor. His name is Johnny Favorite. He was a musician. He's a crooner, sing with big bands, and he owes him. He didn't fulfill his contract, and basically he owed him a favor before the war. Then after he went into the war, and we're going back 12 years before this.
1943.
Yeah, and he said he was shell-shocked after coming out of the war, so he was in a mental institution.
Yeah.
Ever since then, the mental institution been receiving money from De Niro's character to help look after him, to help pay for his hospital fees, basically. But then they found out that he wasn't in the hospital, and a corrupt doctor there's just been pocketing the money. So he's hired Mickey Rourke's character to look for Johnny Favorite.
Yeah, at that hospital.
At the hospital. Go to the hospital, see what you could find out, and, report back to us. And Mickey Rourke's a bit reluctant. He says, hey, I don't really do these kind of big jobs. I just do little insurance claims and divorce cases. And basically, Cypher promises that, he'll be well rewarded if he takes the job.
You want me to check it out?
Check it out.
Okay, yeah.
It's funny, I have a feeling I've met you before.
So the rest is history, and then Mickey Rourke is on a pursuit for a young man by the name of Johnny Favorite.
And he's on the way to this medical institution, and he's getting flashbacks of what Robert De Niro told him, and it's sort of entering into Harry Angel's soul at this point. He's very irritated by something. There's an itch he can't scratch yet.
My interest in Johnny is only in finding out if he's alive or if he's dead.
This is the S.O. Jackson radio show. This is on topfm.net. And tonight we're discussing the 1987 movie Angel Heart. If you want to hook us up, you could hook us up on Twitter at SLJ Radio Show. Send in your tweets, suggestions, ask us anything. Or you could hook us up at ontopfm.net. Or you could hook us up on our Facebook, S.O. Jackson Radio Show, or the Facebook ontopfm.net. And you could also please download the app. You could get us on TuneIn Radio, ontopfm.net as well. We're going to play a couple of tunes. We're going to see you after this.
Yes, I can feel it when you walk. On top, in the house, on top, it takes over me. Yes, I'm dandy. I wanna know, can you feel it too? Just like I do. This stuff is starting now. It's the same feeling I always seem to get around you. There's no mistaking, I'm clearly taken by the simple mere thought of you.
Let's be real.
Promise me that you will never leave me again. Talk to me and say you're my best friend. Yes, today you walked away. Tears came to my eyes, and now that you've come back, please realize. Promise me that you'll never leave me again. Say to me, oh baby, that you'll be my best friend. I just don't want to lose you, no matter what we go through. Hold me and tell me that you love me too. Promise me, baby, that you'll never leave me again. Promise me that you'll be my best friend. Oh, babe, move together, yeah. Oh, honey, we got to love one another. Talk to me and say you love me, and say we'll always be friends. Promise me, oh baby, that you'll never leave me again. Promise me, sugar, that you will always be my best friend. Talk to me and say you love me, and our love will never end. Promise me you'll always love me again and again. Promise me, oh baby, that you'll never leave me again. Oh baby, promise me, baby, you will always be my best friend.
On top, in the house.
Don't leave me, baby.
And welcome back to the S.O. Jackson Radio Show. This is ontopfm.net, and a couple of tracks you heard. The first one being Cameo, and that was called Candy. And I do love that tune. You know, I love going to weddings when they play that tune. You see everybody doing the slide. And the other tune we played, Ernest Wilson, and that was Promise Me. That's the first of our bunch of reggae tunes that we're playing tonight. All the music is taken from the 1987 era in which this film was made. Tonight we're talking about Angel Heart, the 1987 $17 million movie starring
Mickey Rourke, Robert De Niro, and Lisa Bonet.
It's about a private detective played by Mickey Rourke. His name is Harry Angel. He's actually the protagonist in this movie. It's a kind of really gritty, supernatural thriller. He's hired by a guy called Louis Cypher, played by Robert De Niro, through his lawyer by the name of Winesap. He's hired to look for a man by the name of Johnny Favourite. He used to be an old-time jazz singer. He used to sing with jazz bands. So this guy owes Robert De Niro's character a contract. We don't know what the contract is at this moment. Last that Robert De Niro's character heard was that he was in a mental hospital, and that's in Poughkeepsie. You know that Poughkeepsie reminds
French
me
Connection.
of French Connection. So he's staying in the hospital. So now Mickey Rourke's character Angel, he's made his way to the the hospital, and he's inquiring about Johnny Favorite, also known as Johnny Liebling.
What a location. You have to give credit to the location scouts and location managers. They did a great job of finding this hospital in the middle of this. It's snowing and it's in the middle of nowhere, and it's very eerie. Mickey Rourke's character is talking to the clock there, and he's flicking through his wallet and he finds the appropriate card, a forgery that says that he's part of the Medical Health Institute, just so that he can get information on Johnny Lieblings. He sees, she comes over with the paper. It's written on it, it says Lieblings has been, or Johnny Favorite, or Johnny Lieblings has been transferred from that hospital about 12 years ago. And he was taken care of by a part-time employee at the hospital called Fowler.
Indeed, and it was a Dr. Fowler. And so Dr. Fowler, he works at the hospital part-time. So Harry Angel, he puts it upon himself to look for where this Fowler guy lives. So he goes through the phone books. You remember in them days, you know, they used to put the addresses, names, numbers, date of birth, everything. You want to know about somebody, just look in the phone book. But he goes to the phone book, he finds out Fowler's address, he drives to his house, he breaks into his house, and he starts to scavenge around the house, you know, just to see what kind of man this is. He looks into the icebox, into his refrigerator, and he sees that he's hooked on morphine sulfate. It's kind of derivative from opium, you know, heroin substitute. So he sees that he's hooked on that, and he looks around some more, you know, just scurrying around until Fowler comes back home. Once Fowler comes back home, he heads to the fridge, and then Harry makes his presence known.
But time for evening fix?
In which Fowler threatens to call the police, and Harry's character say, well, go ahead, I'm sure they'll be interested in the amount of drugs you've got stashed in your icebox. Harry inquires to Dr. Fowler about the patient, Johnny Favorite, and basically the doctor tells him the truth. He just says, yes, he was a patient there, but one day he was just taken away by a woman and a man. The man was called Edward Kelly, and they took him down south, and that's the last thing known of him. He doesn't know what he looks like because he had a disfigurement in the war, and his face was all bandaged up.
Some people came one night many years ago. He got in the car with him and drove away. I never saw him again.
He got into a car? I thought this guy was a vegetable.
When he first came here, he was in a coma, but he soon recovered. But he still suffered from acute amnesia.
Harry said he didn't quite buy that story. He locked him in a room. And that's important because most of the deaths that occur in this film is after Harry's character locks the door. But anyway, that's something else we'll talk about. So he locks him in a room. He goes and gets a coffee or whatever. After Harry leaves the house, he's walking down the street and he hears someone calling his name, and then after he hears someone calling Johnny's name very faintly. You've got to listen to all the nooks and crannies of this film. And he walks past a church and he sees two girls sitting there reading a Bible. There's some kind of pot and it's got blood in it. At the moment, it's all like esoterical kind of supernatural stuff going on. We haven't put the dots on the I, or we haven't crossed the T's yet. We don't know exactly what's happening, and this is what throws a lot of people by watching this movie. But trust me, just hanging on there. And when he returns,
switches the light on. The doctor is laying on his bed with an old picture of his wife, a gun in his hand, the Bible, and a bullet hole in his right eye. Harry assumes that someone came in and shot him just after he left.
Do you think so? I thought he assumed that he committed suicide because he's locked the door, and there's no chance of a break-in, and the gun was in his hand, so he probably thought that he had shot himself because...
But he tries to clean up the scene. He's taking off his prints.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. He
doesn't want to get charged with murder, because it could be a murder, because he's got shot in the eye.
Well, yeah, but also he just don't want the cops hassling him on his back, so he tries to clean it up. But what's more important, though, he cleans it up for another reason that we would find out at the end.
Yeah, and there's another motif. There's a spinning blade, spinning fan you always see during important moments in the film.
And in the killings of the film.
In the killings of the film, this fan's always spinning, and then after the killings, it stops. And when he first met with Robert De Niro, he notices the spinning fan behind his head, and he shudders at it. He feels like a cold chill goes up his spine. It's a very important motif for a later reveal in the film. The doctor's dead.
The doctor's very dead, you know, bullet in the eye, through the head, through the brain. He's very much dead. So after that happens, the next day we see Harry, Mickey Rourke's character, having a meeting with Robert De Niro at a cafe, you know, just a small local cafe. Again, Charlie, we see that fan on. It's like any time when there's death or something supernatural to be talking about, we see the fan on. So Robert De Niro, he's in a cafe, he's got a plate full of boiled eggs in front of him.
Yeah, the boiled eggs are all white. Plates are white, the ceramic is white, the walls are white, the table sheets are white. Everything is like very fragile looking in this scene.
Indeed,
it's really creepy. You got De Niro's just looking at him, I think, with contempt.
And also, De Niro, he's eating the eggs. He does say this is like an embodiment of the soul. That's what he thinks the eggs are.
Yeah, that's what they say.
And it's also taken from a Darling painting when he paints a lot of eggs. And, you know, Salvador Dali, he's a famous Spanish painter, and he imposes that in his pictures, the egg and the soul and death and life and stuff like that.
So De Niro, I think he's really desperate to find this Johnny Favorite guy.
Mickey Rourke's character, Harry Angel, and Robert De Niro's character, Louis Cypher, they're discussing what Mickey Rourke's character found last night, and he tells him about the doctor. He tells him about how Johnny Favorite's character was taken from the hospital in 43, I believe it. He was taken away by this man and woman, and he believes they're up south.
Johnny Favorite walked out of Sarah Harvest Dodge 12 years ago, wearing his best suit and a new face wrapped in bandages. He took off with some guy called Kelly and a girl.
And he tells De Niro, you know, he was talking to the doctor 1 minute, he went away for about an hour or something, he comes back and he sees the doctor dead, he's blasted himself away. De Niro's character asks Mickey Rourke, you know, are you afraid? He said, yeah, of course I'm afraid, you know, dead bodies, this, that. De Niro wants Mickey Rourke's character on the case, so he says, I'll pay you $5,000 extra. You know, because Mickey Rourke said, you know, this ain't worth $125 a day, you know, this ain't my gig, man, you know, so he says, I will pay you $5,000 extra. Mickey Rourke says, $5,000?
Are you afraid?
Yeah, I'm afraid.
I'll instruct my lawyer immediately to send you a check for $5,000. If you don't want the job, I'll engage someone else.
5,000?
5,000.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do it. And, you know, and then they go to talk about these eggs.
Yeah, he's playing with an egg. He's opening an egg, De Niro is, and he says,
you know, some religions think that the egg is the symbol of the soul. Did you know that?
And he's slowly like cracking it, rolling it on the table, opening it, and he pours salt on it. And he drops a bit of salt. Harry Angel takes the salt, throws it over his left shoulder.
Yeah, that's all superstition. Like, so
you're blinding the devil.
That's right. So it's trying to build up this, you know, superstitious thing in the movie.
And we look at De Niro, and he takes a bite out of this egg. Like half of the egg is taken out, and he's looking at Rourke, and Rourke is looking back at him, and they're very creepy moment.
What we got here, Charlie? We've got this private detective, this gumshoe fella, Mickey Rourke. And I must say, we haven't really spoke about Mickey Rourke. Great actor. He's come in some great films. 9.5 Weeks with Kim Basinger. I don't know if you know that movie. It's a very intense, sexual, deviant film. Very good film. Also, he's came in a bunch of other films. He was a boxer from the age of 12. He wanted to go on and take it professionally. He gave it up. He went back to it after a drop in his acting career. That's what kind of disfigured his face. He's had a lot of face work done by his own admission as well, and as you could see, he recently came in The Wrestler, which he was nominated for an Academy Award for that. So when we talk about Mickey Rourke, he is a good actor, and he actually, I read some notes on this, he said he was so pleased to be acting alongside De Niro. He actually stepped up his acting game, acting with De Niro in this. So that's just a brief into the backstory of Rourke's career.
He says the only reason he took the film is because he was desperate to make some cash and pay off his house debt.
Yeah, indeed. He's actually from New York, Mickey Rourke and that. We're not talking much about De Niro yet because, Charlie, we've got so much films in our coffers with De Niro, and we're going to have an opportunity to talk about him. You know, we've got a lot of great films, Goodfellas, Godfather. Once Upon a Time in America. So, you know, you guys are going to get a good opportunity to get to know De Niro on our show. Yeah. So, Charlie, what we got here? The 1987 Angel Heart movie. So, Mickey Rourke has just told De Niro that the guy he's looking for, he's probably been taken down south by a man and woman, and Mickey Rourke said he doesn't really want nothing to do with it because the doctor that was looking after the guy has just blown his head away, and basically, you know, that's too much heavy stuff for him. But De Niro's character said, listen, I'll up your pay, I'll give you $5,000. And Mickey Rourke obviously can't refuse, so he's on the case now. He sets off for a meeting with, I forgot the lady's name, but he sets off for a meeting with one of his girlfriends, would you say?
Yeah.
Friends with benefits. And she actually works at the Times newspaper, and she's going to give him a whole bunch of information now. Yeah. Let's paint the picture for the audience.
Well, he's in a room with her. She's quite pretty blonde. She catches up with him, they go to a bedroom, and she's revealing all this information that she knows. Basically, it's about exposition.
Yeah, let's tell the audience, because maybe, you know, without sounding too patronising, a lot of audience, we're using a lot of film terms there. So exposition sometimes is where in a script or in a movie, they put a character in to say a bunch of stuff that's happening in a film. A character would just say it, or they could do it in a montage form or whatever.
The way they do it here is that they go into a bedroom, and she's taking off her clothes, and they're kissing and making out. And she tells him about a palm reader, a tarot card reader, a lady called Madame Zora, and a person called Margaret Kruzmark,
who Johnny Favorite was in relationships with, or added some sort of a relationship with.
Yeah.
Now here's the juicy bit. He was engaged to a rich broad named Margaret Kruzmark. Dad Ethan owns half of Louisiana.
And she shows him pictures, because, you know, up to now, no one's seen Johnny Favorite. What does this guy look like? So she shows him pictures of Johnny Favorite. So she's telling him about these two characters who Johnny Favorite knew in New York.
A band player called Toots Sweet, who's moved to New Orleans in Louisiana, down south. And another guy who they played in a band together. So they're all good friends. And
Spider, I believe it was Spider.
Spider, Margaret Kruzmark, Madame Zora, they all knew each other. And she's throwing out all these names at him, and he's trying to put them all in a recollection.
Remember, she says that Madame Kruzmark, she's from a quite well-to-do family, and that she was into all like the supernatural, the super spirit world and stuff like that. He gets the story that it's south he needs to go. He needs to go down to Louisiana. We're talking about the 1987 supernatural thriller, Angel Heart. This is SL Jackson Radio Show. This is ontopfm.net. We're going to play a couple of tunes now, and we're diving into some real roots reggae tonight. You know, I've had this on the show for a long time. We only played a couple of reggae tracks. So anyway, we'll be back after these couple of tracks.
When we pass your man, a danger business.
Say no say. House.
Original Bandolero man. Roll. Hey gringos and pasero, how want you make way for the Bandolero? Cause if you don't do that, my friend, then your number is 0. Them lyrics are chopped like the sword of Zorro. Roll. Should I see me win a Colorado? When I buck up the youth from Conero. When they all sit a kick up and a gallop on the caravan stay so 0. Now him come lick the Pelico, and Pelico go fly up in him marrow. Him want to jump in and me chest, he feeling bad because he feel over my show 0. But I just drink the tequila, I saw me arms up in sweet chiquita. I tell her born Esta, senorita, I am the professora 0. You should never diss the champion. No, my name is Fincher, I'm the Dan Gorgon. Yeah, yeah. Hey gringos and pasero, how will you make way for the Bandolero? Because if you don't do that, my friend, then your number is 0. Them lyrics are chopped like the soul of Zorro. Roll. Pick a little tune from me banjo, make a little walk in El Paso. Tell them if we take it down low, cause this is ain't no stage show 0. Them a wax the picture make me bad so. Them me wicked and they want Al Pacino. Them you that's a one I want to bandolero, that's a move so zero. Hey, gringos and Persero, make way for the bandolero. Cause if you don't do that, my friend, then your number is zero. Cause in time may come, now let my pistolero zero. You should never diss the champion. No, no. My name is Pinchas, I'm the damn gorgon. Yeah, yeah. Franconero, him go lick the pelico. A pelico, we go fly up in the marrow. He want to jump in and me chase him, go on like said them over macho. Zero. But I just drink the tequila. I saw me hands up him sweet chiquita. And tell her buenas tardes, senorita, I am the professora. Zero. Mercy now. Oh, no mercy now. No mercy now. No, 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 no.
Let's be real.
I said I tell them already, and I will tell them again. I will tell them again. Alright. Hey, you be, you bang me. Hey, you be, you bang me. Hey, you be, you bang me. Then cocotti, jaja no cocotti, and come again. Alright. Because me have a many friends and me will treat them well. Whenever to them my secret tell. Cause when my friends become a my foe, all over the world my story will go. So you be, cocotti, come again. Alright, see, so you be, you bang be, you be, you bang bang. Hey, you be, you bang be, you cocotti, come again. Because I tell them once, I tell them twice, I tell them thrice, Lord Jesus Christ. I tell them four, I tell them five, cocotti come for keep this a dance, oh yes, alive. Boy, so you be, you bang be, you be, you bang bang. You be, you bang be, you cocotti, come again. Oh yeah. Say mix me digital, say mix me wisely. Say mix me digital and make a second steady. Say mix me digital, mix me wisely. Cocotti la da da, cocotti come again. So hear me now, yes. Here you be, you bang be, you then. Here you be, you bang yeah. Here you be, you bang be then. Digital la da da, digital come again. So watch out the girls, them a skank up for we. So watch out the passes, them a wind up for we. Some a scat dip on them hands and some a scat dip on them knee. Them say that this a style full of versatility. None of requests to the arcade posse. Oh watch out them trash lad, look how them ready. Cocotti lad, God, cocotti come again. Oh yo, so hey, yugi, you bang be young then. Hey, you be, you bang young. Cocotti la da da, cocotti come again. Boy, because me sing it for me enemy, me sing it for my friend, me sing it for the bullet and me sing it for the end. And yes, a cocotti la de comfy wonder, cocotti la da da, cocotti come again. Oh yo, so here you be, you bang
On top in the house.
And welcome back to the S.O. Jackson Radio Show. This is ontopfm.net. And my name's Stephen Lloyd Jackson. And
I'm Charlie MC.
Tonight we're talking about the 1987 thriller Angel Heart. And don't forget, we're here every Tuesday just after midnight GMT. And I'd like to say a big hello to everybody around the globe. And thanks for having your company. I hope you're enjoying the show. And a couple of tracks you just heard. The first one being by Pinchers, and it's called Bandolero, and that was a big tune back in 87. And also the other track you heard by Cockatee, and that was Come Again, another kind of massive tune that really used to rock the dance floors back in them days. Okay, we're talking about Mickey Rourke's character, Harry Angel, I must say.
Yeah, Angel Heart, 1987, cost 17 million to make and made 17 million at the US box office.
I mean, they made their return. It wasn't a big, massive film, but it's technically a beautiful film. Yeah. Well acted, you know, a great cast and everything like that.
Yeah.
So, Harry Angel, just painting a picture for the audience. Harry Angel, he was basically hired by a character called Louis Cypher, played by Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro was owed a contract from this musician or singer, crooner by the name of Johnny Favourites or Johnny Lieberlin. He went missing after the war or during World War II. He was shell-shocked. He went into a hospital. He had his face fixed, so no one kind of know what he looks like now. He's had his face fixed. Two kind of strangers took him from the hospital. There's a woman and a man called Edward Kelly and a woman by the name of Kruzmark. Or
no, they don't know her name yet.
They don't know her name yet, but we do. But it was Kruzmark. But okay, so we don't spoil it for the audience. They took him out of the hospital. Now, Harry Angel, he's been paid $5,000 now. He actually wanted to get off the case because the corrupt doctor that was looking after Johnny Favourites at the mental hospital, he actually killed himself. So we're led to believe he killed himself, but we'll find out different later. So, you know, Harry was telling De Niro's character, Louis Cypher, that he wants to be taken off the case, but Robert De Niro's character, you know, he kind of said, I'm going to up your pay. So he's got a hard-on to get Johnny Favourites now.
Big time. I think there's more to it than just money. He feels a connection to this kid.
Do you think so? I'm not sure if he feels it quite yet. He just feels like it's a bit odd.
Yeah, something's really bothering him about it. It's an itch. And he's getting emotional about it. At certain points, he's getting really invested into it. He really wants to know where this guy is.
So we go from New York, and I must say, this film's kind of, in terms of visual aspects, the palette is probably full all the way. They kind of graded the film in different textures to suit the different mood. In New York, it's all grainy, grey, wintry feel about it. So once Harry Angel departs for Louisiana, we see this different kind of silkiness. The sun's out, it's shiny. And Alan Parker, who directed this movie, he actually used a lot of the extras that lives and works and grew up in Louisiana as extras on this film, and it gave it this real unique look to it.
Him and his production crew had a good eye for shooting locations that would translate what they're trying to make the audience feel in the film. Very gritty, very dirty. And it's set in 1955, so they also have to keep, the set dressers have to keep that in mind with props and stuff that's only available at that time. The film was shot about 30 years after that. And so he's in New Orleans and he's sweaty there. He gets
It is sweaty. It is.
Sweaty and
I mean, I've actually spent a lot of time in New Orleans, you know, and it is one of the most hottest places I've been in my life.
Yeah.
And also,
this is before they had air conditioning in 1955.
And also, when it rains like there's no tomorrow. So you got that dichotomy of two weather groups there. It's a beautiful place, though, beautiful food, you know. Mickey Rourke is now in New Orleans. He's rented a room at a hotel. You know, we see like young kids out on the street doing their tap dancing. Those of you who's been in New Orleans, you know what I'm talking about. It's got this vibrancy, this southern vibrancy in the air. There's music playing all the time, especially up Bourbon Street and places like that. But
it must be a wild place.
It's wild, but it's contained.
A wild place in a developed country.
Yeah, it's very natural and stuff like that.
Even New York felt like that. It felt really wild when we went there.
Yeah.
It's really something crazy in the air.
Yeah, that's right. We see Mickey Rourke. He's actually caught up with Kruzmark, the woman, one of the women that were associated with Johnny Favourites back in New York. She was the woman who he's found out that she took him from the hospital down south, and he's actually on a tram following her, basically. He's sat in a seat, and the seat said for coloureds only or whatever. So you could see they're still behind that racial time where segregation was very much much evident in the Deep South, or remnants of it is still evident.
Oh, it's definitely heavily.
Yeah, so he's following her basically. He finds out where she lives and that lot. So he makes an appointment. She's a palm reader, so he makes an appointment to see her.
And he walks in, and she is played by Charlotte Rampling.
Yeah, she's an edgy actress, and I've seen her in a few things. Yeah, she's a good actress. Yeah.
And she lets him in, and she has an African American maid. They speak French together.
Yeah, because they've actually got a place in New Orleans called the French Quarter. It's very heavily influenced by colonial French and stuff like that.
Even her apartment, it reminds me of when the Europeans settled in the Caribbean, and they'd have a mixture of cultures in their house. Trees, plants, it looked like sort of a jungle as well as a place to live.
That's right, and lampshades. And so her maid, she's talking to Rampling's character, Krusemark, in French. You know, the audience, we don't know what she's saying, but it's kind of evident that she's kind of, I think she's saying this guy's a bit dodgy.
Yeah. Because they say, I read that the what they're talking about, the maid asks her, should we get our best glasses out for the tea for him?
All right, okay.
She looks at him, he's playing on the piano, he does a noise, and she's like, no.
Oh, so what they're saying, like,
this guy is so sleazy.
Okay.
He doesn't deserve our best cutlery.
Harry Angel's character, he says to Margaret Krusemark, who's played by Charlotte Rampling, there's a picture of Charlotte's father, and he says, who's this character? He looks like he should be in the movies or something. And she says, oh, that's my father. So anyway, then they get talking, and you know, she starts, remember, she's there to read his palm.
So she's very spiritual, and she takes his birthday and maybe to read his horoscope.
Yeah, but what does he give as his birthday? He says February the 14th.
Valentine's Day, which is a very important date.
1918, which Johnny Favourites was born on. And she says, oh, I knew a guy once who had that exact birthday. But incidentally, I think Alan Parker, the director,
he used his own birthday.
Yeah, he used his own birthday.
14th of February. And actually, it's also Harry Angel's birthday. It really is his birthday.
And she says, I knew a guy with that same birthday. So then Harry Angel, you know, he reveals what he really wants. He says, actually, I'm looking for Johnny Favourite. You knew him, man.
She says,
and she said, you know,
he's dead to me.
Johnny has no future. He's dead.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's dead or alive. I don't know where he is. I don't know what he's doing.
That's right.
But she was really in love with him, and you can see that look of pain in her face when he talks about him.
Yeah, it's just etched across her face and her eyes, and she just says, you know, it's a guy who we had a thing together, and I'd rather forget about him and stuff like that.
Yeah, at this point, we find out that he had a girlfriend, an African-American lady called
Proudfoot.
Evangeline or...
Yeah, Evangelina Proudfoot.
Yeah.
He actually fathered a child.
Yeah, so he has this Krusemark lady, this tarot card reader, played by Charlotte Rampling, and he also went out and fathered a child with an African-American lady called Evangeline Proudfoot.
Yeah, and she was a priestess into voodoo, basically.
In New York. So there's all
this
film. We're basically following people who are sort of devil worshippers and supernatural, superstitious voodoo people.
Well, you can't say devil worshippers, because voodoo, that's actually a real religion, you know, in Africa and in parts of the Southern American hemispheres. It's actually a religion like Christianity or Islam or whatever. It's just a different way. But, you know, Western society has corrupted certain elements of that religion and tried to say it's black magic and it's this and it's that. And it's got a very close relationship to Catholicism, which they borrow a bit from each. So I wouldn't really say it's a devil religion altogether, although I don't, you know, believe in it. But it is a religion that is practiced through some quarters of the world, and you know, without it bringing harm to anybody.
That's what he does. Alan Parker, he uses it to creep people out in this film. You know,
I mean, and it's kind of evident as well. There's a Bond film called Live and Let Die with Roger Moore. I think he was Bond at the time, where they used the same elements in Louisiana at the time, and as I said, it's the Western kind of world who don't understand religion to a certain extent that try to say it is black magic and demonic and stuff like that. But it's a religion that's been going on for years, centuries in Africa, you know. But anyway, so voodoo does play a big part in it. And in this film particularly, they are focusing on the darker side of what voodoo is. But,
of religion, darker side of the spirit.
But we're not condoling that to say that is what voodoo is about. We want to bring respect to everybody on this show.
I don't know what voodoo is about.
Okay. I don't know the full ins and outs. So anyway,
So he finds out about Evangeline Proudfoot, where she lives, that she's died, and that she used to be like a mystic. I don't know what these people do.
Well, she used to just be, a spiritualist. She was actually a voodoo priestess.
Yeah.
So she would do a lot of incantations and stuff like that.
And he rents a car, and he goes out into the country in New Orleans.
Yeah,
and he sees the grave.
And again, Charlie, we're watching the film as we're talking. Beautiful shots, I love them wide angle shots, these lower angle shots, showing the beauty of New Orleans,
There's kids playing with post boxes and dogs and old ladies.
I can't big it up enough. And when I'm seeing these pictures, I'm just thinking of the food again in New Orleans, the gumbo and grits and beautiful food out there. Yeah, so he's going off. He visits Evangeline's grave side, and he sees the date on it. She died in 1947. So obviously, it's 3 years, 4 years after
the accident.
Johnny Favorite was taken from the hospital.
Yeah.
So he's kind of putting two and two together.
He sees a lady.
He sees a young girl, and this is Lisa Bonet.
Yeah.
And she plays Evangelina Proudfoot's daughter, basically. She plays a girl called Epiphany Proudfoot. Very beautiful in this, very pretty, young. She's got a child. I said the child's about just under 2 years old. Yeah, and when he sees her, he's spying on her first. He's seen her.
She's laying bread and flowers on her mum's grave.
On the grave.
She's
giving
got a kid
thanks
as
to the.
well.
Yeah.
The kid's got blonde hair. He's got mixed features.
Yeah, he's mixed race child. Black and white mixed race.
The mum's mixed, and he's even more mixed.
Lisa Bonet is playing the love child, I should say, of her mother and Johnny Favorite's character, the guy that Harry Angel's looking for. So he approaches her. She's washing her hair, and that's kind of symbolic, like in the Bible and stuff like that. When Jesus met one of the women that were washing their hair, and it's a form of elaborating the beauty and preparation for love making.
My favorite moment in this scene is when he asks her name. She says Epiphany.
So it's
Epiphany.
Epiphany.
Yeah.
Your mama left you with a very beautiful name, Epiphany.
And it's, Epiphany means, I think it's obviously a Greek word, and it means to find something out.
Yeah, it's an incident or a foreboding story that's going to happen in the future. These filmmakers, they're very clever. We're very clever. We incorporate a lot of things, and that's good directing and good techniques and everything, and the motives that they put in.
She's washed her hair, and she's wearing a white top, a low-cut top, and it's see-through. She has curly hair. They're looking at each other. I think they're attracted to each other.
Yeah, well, he comes out with it. He says, you're very pretty, your eyes are very nice and stuff like that. So Lisa Bonet, she's from San Francisco, born in 1967, grew up in New York. She's actually the daughter of an African-American man and a white Jewish woman. She got married to Lenny Kravitz, the famous rock star.
He's also Jewish.
Yeah, he's also with the same thing, so they call themselves real soulmates. And she's been acting for quite a long time. She actually gave up acting and retired a bit after a divorce from Lenny Kravitz. She took a back seat, and she came in a few B movies, low budget movies.
The Bing Crosby Show, that's what made her famous. That's when people used to watch TV in the 80s. She was pretty,
indeed,
that's why she was
not
big.
Bing Crosby.
Bill
Cosby.
Yeah.
Bill Cosby Show. Yeah, that's what made her famous. She was big in that, and they say we're gonna come to a love scene shortly in this movie. They say for her to take on this film, the executives weren't too happy because it's the most graphic part in this movie. But we'll talk about that when we arrive there. And she also came in Enemy of the State with Will Smith. That was her last kind of big movie. She actually changed her name to Lila Cole Moon. She's into some meditation stuff and whatever. But she does a very good job in this. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
This may sound a bit I hope it doesn't sound sexist or anything. Usually when you got a pretty girl in a movie, you know, the acting isn't so much up to par, but she, you know, she got the looks and she's got the talent, so hats off for her.
They met up now. Her and Harry Angel have met up now, and he leaves her, and he obviously doesn't like chickens as well, which is another important
Yeah, because when he was talking to her, there was all these chickens running around, and he says he hates chickens. He says it a few times in the movie. We're going to come back. We're going to play a couple of tracks, reggae tracks. This is the S.O. Jackson radio show. This is ontopfm.net. We're here every Tuesday just after midnight GMT. Hello to the world. This is Angel Heart. We're doing 1987. Check out these two tracks. We're going to hit you up after this.
Mother, she look glad. Father, him stop screw. Look like him son in la rope in fit you. Sharon a pregnant, you're pregnant, yes mama. From you see me sicky, shoulda know mama. From you see how me so fat, you shoulda know mama. From you see how me so lazy, shoulda know mama. You say if pregnant, me can't carry. But if you put me out, you I go sorry. Remember me is your only pigling. Last night you tell me that you love me badly. Sharon a pregnant, you're pregnant, yes mama. From you see how me sicky, shoulda know mama. From you see how me so fat, you shoulda know mama. From you see old me lady shoulda know mama. Go round the corner with your lover. Little after the pregnancy take over. Seems like you not no respect to your mother father. Hey little girl make me so out of order. No mama, no mama, no, kill you, I'll kill me, no, I kill my body, no, like you want me, little baby, no, she wanna pregnant, yes mama, from you see me sicky, shoulda know mama, from you see how me I walk, you shoulda know mama, from you hear how me attack, you shoulda know mama, it's alright, yeah. She a ask me some question, you just trap over me. Your man want the baby, yes mama. He might go buy your baby things, yes mama. Your man good looking, yes mama. Your man him love you, yes mama. Your man have discipline, yes mama. It's alright, yeah. Mama looking glad. Father him stop screw. Look like him son in a rope, he fit you. Sharon a pregnant, you pregnant, yes mama. From you see me sicky, shoulda know mama. From you see me look so fat, you shoulda know mama. From you see me look so lazy, shoulda know mama. You say if I pregnant, me can't carry. But if you run me out, you I go sorry. Remember me is your only pygmy. Last night you tell me you love badly. Don't know no mama, don't know no, don't know no mama, don't know no, I kill you, I kill me, don't know no, you want me lose to me baby, don't know no, mama I kill you, I kill me, don't know no, you want me lose to me baby, don't know no, mama she look glad, father him stop screw, look like him son in a rope him fit you, Sharon a pregnant, you pregnant, yes mama. From you see me look so sick, you shoulda know mama. From you see you me look so fat, you shoulda know mama. From you see me look so sleepy, you shoulda know mama. Ah well yeah, oh yeah, ah well yeah. Me mommy proud of me baby, why? She proud of me baby, why? I feel call her granny, why? Me daddy love it, why? Ah yeah. She said, "Big one with data. You don't know your big, you don't know your jumbo under. You big one with data. You don't know me big bad, I'm me jumbo bout. She wanna pregnant, you pregnant, yes mama. From just your sicky, she don't know mama.
Let's be real.
I, the son of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. Our heart shall correspond and beat it in one harmony. Sounds from the burning spear. Shall not enter. of peace. Chant down of Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down of Babylon, chant down Babylon. Give thanks and praise, give thanks and praise, give thanks and praise, give thanks and praise to the whole man of creation. Chant down Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down Babylon. Give thanks and praise, give thanks and praise, give thanks and praise, give thanks and praise to the whole man of creation.
Welcome back to the S.O. Jackson radio show. This is ontopfm.net and we're talking about the 1987 film Angel Heart. And the tunes that you just heard there, the first one being by Little John and it's called Yes Mama, and the second one being by Burning Spear, Door Peeper. And I love that kind of dub kind of rhythm tune, you know. Grew up on that stuff. What could we say? We're talking about this guy, Harry Angel. He's running around looking for another guy called Johnny Favorites. He's been hired by this kind of creeped out kind of guy, played by De Niro, called Louis Cypher. So where have we reached there?
Well, he's in Louisiana now. He's just met Johnny Favorite, Johnny Liebling's daughter, with one of his lovers, an African-American lady, and obviously the daughter is mixed, and she's got a child of herself. And so she's about 17 years old. And so when he was in New York, he found out that Johnny Favorite was playing in a band with a guy called Toots Sweet that's also moved to New Orleans. It's like they've all moved together to that part of the world. And he scopes him out. He sees that he performs in a jive bar.
I would say that.
I don't know what that means. I just knew it.
It's a little jazzy bar. In New Orleans, you get them all over the place. You know, you walk past and you see these bands hitting out some tunes, and it's good tunes, you know. And these guys, you know, you see the liquor floating and stuff like that.
And this guy, Toots Sweet, used to roll with Johnny Favorite a lot. They used to be good buddies. And here, he stops playing his music, he goes to the bar, orders a drink, and Mickey Rourke joins him, you know. Mickey Rourke's got one thing on his mind. He wants to know where Johnny Favorite is. So his body language with people, he sort of can tell. This guy would swat you out the way if he didn't need you for anything. So he goes straight to the point. He's lying as well. He says, "Oh, I'm in a newspaper. I used to listen to your music back in the 40s. I heard you play." And you can tell the guy isn't really buying it. And he says, "Yeah, I played with him 1 or 2 times."
Listen, you know that I heard you play years ago in New York?
Yeah?
Yeah, it was before the war at the old Dickie Wells bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you was having it up pretty good with some cat called Johnny Favorite.
Yeah, I vaguely remember playing with that guy once.
Toot Sweetie's not. She's showing that he's not. It's not. Johnny Favorite isn't important to him. He just played with him once or twice.
Yeah.
He's lying.
Not only that, this guy is what you call a real musician. He says he's just interested in Two Sisters cocktails. That's all he goes on about, and he just want to take a pee, take a cigarette, and get back to playing.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't want to talk about Johnny Favorite.
Yeah, not that there's anything bad or maybe
there is.
No, but what I'm saying, not that he wants to give the impression there's anything bad. He just wants to try and shove the guy off, shove Harry off. And Harry follows him into the toilet.
He's like, listen, man, I can't even take a leak without you following me. He's going off and on, and he sees a chicken leg, and he gets...
Toots sees the chicken leg.
Toots sees a chicken leg, gets freaked out, which I don't understand.
No, it means a sign in voodoo. This is what I read into it. When you're going to be harmed, someone will put a symbol there or of some sort.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ignorance, but it's what I picked up over the years of watching films kind of like this.
He gets thrown out the bar.
So he freaks out after this other big African American guy comes in, bouncer of course, and he grabs him by the scruff of his neck and he throws Harry out of the bar.
Yeah.
Why do they always have these trash cans outside these bars? Is it designed for people to be thrown into?
I think in cinema language, if you fly through a trash can, there's all this debris flying everywhere. It looks really exciting on camera.
They never have
it looks good on camera.
Yeah. They never have them just being kicked out on the sidewalk and they get their knees scraped up and say, that hurt, man. So he's... Anyway, Harry, Mickey Rourke, he waits outside for Toots to finish his shift, so to speak. So he's there until night. Toots Sweet. That's played by Brownie McGee, I must say. Good actor. I've seen him in a couple of stuff.
That's how he's got a lot of... he waits all night for him to leave the bar.
Yeah, I mean, that's his job. He's a private detective, so he's used to waiting
I'd have just went home. Yeah.
No, but he's been paid, and he's used to staking out, like, people who cheating on their husbands, cheating on their wives, so he's used to, like, waiting out. Yeah. So anyway, he follows Toots. Toots gets into his car. He follows him. One thing when I was watching this, I said, this guy's got energy. He's been playing in the band all day, drinking, and he follows him
out in the
sticks, basically.
In the swamp, in the middle of nowhere. He follows him all the way, and there's this kind of ritualistic orgy
going on, and in the center of it is Epiphany Proudfoot, Lisa Bonet's character.
She sacrifices a chicken over her head and she pours over her.
Cuts the neck of a chicken and she pours it all over. And they're doing all these incantation dances and yelling.
That's quite sexual.
And Toots is playing the bongo drums. He's just part of the band playing it. And you see Lisa Bonet dancing. She's got this white kind of gown on and it's all covered with the chicken's blood. And she's dancing with this other African-American woman, and it's quite provocative, sexually provocative. And that's a famous, I forgot the name, but that's a famous New York dance school that Alan Parker drafted in to do this scene. So it's all choreographed quite well. And
they're really in touch with their soul.
Yeah. Harry still follows Toots after that
sick
ritualistic session.
Yeah, he gets sick. He's like,
who was sick?
Harry gets sick about it.
He couldn't watch
spying
it.
On them.
He couldn't watch it, so he had to move away from that. Yeah. So he follows Toots back into, I would say, to the city of New Orleans, up to his apartment.
Yeah, he's about to enter his home, and for some reason, he attacks him.
Yeah, he jumps on him. So we could see like this eagerness to get hold of Johnny is creeping up on him more. So anyway, he jumps on Toots. Toots is like in his mid to late 60s. He's a big guy. He's not built like Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke's in his, I would say, 30s at this time.
They cut each other.
Yeah. He pulls out a razor and he cuts Mickey Rourke's character's hand.
Yeah.
Mickey Rourke is able to overpower him. He basically puts a razor to Toots's face and he says, tell me what I want to know. Toots start to, reluctantly say a few things that he doesn't want to say. He seemed quite frightened, doesn't he?
Yeah. Harry Angel opens Toots Sweet's mouth and he sees the silver tooth with the pentacle on it.
Yes. The same what every character's got that is come into contact with Johnny Favorite. It's like they all belong to this kind of ritualistic cult.
Devil worshipping cult. I think they believe in the devil.
Yeah.
I think if you believe in something strong enough, something spiritual like that, it becomes true to you.
Yeah, and again we see the fan in the background.
And it's spinning, and then when he leaves,
it stops. And And we see that gate, that cage-like gate that you have on some elevator lifts.
So now we're in a surreal moment. We don't know if it's real, if it's really happening or not. We really don't. Because Harry Angel walks out of this elevator and he's got blood all over his chest. He's walking towards a woman in black.
The same
someone
woman
dressed in black
that was cleaning the blood off when he first met Cypher's attorney.
He goes up to the woman, he shakes her, he finds the razor blade full of blood on it. Very surreal, very violent.
Blood just pouring out of his hand, and from where he got the cut from Toots. The next day, we see Harry in his apartment, and he's visited upon by two cops from the Louisiana's finest. They're murder detectives. Homicide detectives, I would say. They visit him, they wake him up, and he doesn't seem shaken by it, Harry.
He feels he's got nothing to feel guilty about.
First they criticise his room, this is a nice room. Evidently not, he's leaking the ceilings, he's got to put pails there to catch the rainwater, which we'll talk about a bit later on. It does hold a quite significant part. And one of the detectives, basically, he's a big guy, he's a white guy, and he says to Mickey Rourke, where were you last night, blah, 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 do you know Toots Sweet? We heard you were talking with him.
He finds a piece of paper with his name on it in Toots Sweet's
mouth,
flat.
basically. It was stuffed in his mouth, and he say, along with his genitalia, someone castrated him, basically, Toots Sweet, stuffed the genitalia in his mouth,
suffocated him with it.
Somebody cut his dick off, stuffed it in his mouth, and choked him to death. Then they took to redecorating his apartment with the poor jerk's blood.
Indeed.
So he killed him that way.
Asphyxiation, along with the paper that Mickey Rourke wrote his name and number on for Toots to contact him if he's got any information about Johnny Favourite. So now he's definitely a suspect in Toots's murder. So, but it doesn't seem to faze him that much, I would imagine, because he's just like hell-bent on finding Johnny Favourite.
And I think the cops, they mention later, they don't care about Toots Sweet that much because he's African American. It's a lot of racism there.
That's right. They say the N-word.
They don't value that life.
They don't value his life. So we move on from that now.
So he's realized that there's been another murder. There's a second murder now in his trail. So he's really freaked out. He's a murder suspect in 2 different murders. He goes to a bar to call Margaret Krusemark, and she's not picking up the phone.
That's right.
And he has flashbacks. He's worked up a sweat. First time he gets a flashback of this party going on in Times Square in New York. He doesn't know what's going on anymore.
He's getting a flashback of 1943 where they're parading in the street. And again, this is something we'll come back to. He's looking in the mirror. He doesn't usually like mirrors in this movie. He tries to avoid them, so he's looking into the mirror. He's getting flashbacks of 1943 when all the soldiers were out parading on the street of New York. He doesn't know why. As the audience, we don't know why at the time of watching this movie for the first time. So he's getting those flashbacks, and then someone tugs onto him and interrupts his flashback. He's kind of jolted by that. It's just a musician with a saxophonist asking him if he wants him to play a tune. So he says no, that's okay. So he makes his way down to see Margaret Krusemark again, Charlotte Rampling's character. He enters the building where her apartment is. He goes upstairs to her apartment. He's kind of
sweaty.
He's sweaty and dirty and everything like that. But he's kind of, his mind, he's getting more involved in what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a tap dancer in the background. There's this really dense atmosphere in the movie. He's going up to Margaret Krusemark's flat and he sees her body on the floor.
And he's body on the floor.
And I think he's distraught at the sight of this. I think her chest been opened and her heart's been cut out.
Yeah, so basically we got Margaret Krusemark now. Remember, she was one of the 2 people that helped take Johnny Favourite from the mental hospital in New York and bring him down to the south. And she's laying there dead. He picks up a knife. It's a long kind of pirate knife. And he starts to scavenge around, pick up a few objects. He picks up this bottle, and this will come in later, and he shakes it, and it's got something in it. But he doesn't bother to open it. I don't know why he's looking around if he ain't going to look around properly.
He's looking for evidence of where Johnny Lee Bones is, and he finds a hand, waxed person's hand.
Yeah, and
cut
this
off.
is all on a dressing table, by the
Yeah.
way. So, and he goes to a diary and he takes out the leaf where
she made his appointment. So
yeah, for him to visit. So he gets
rid of that evidence. And obviously he's not rummaging through her things in like a burglar would. So they're not going to take the prints off all these things he's touching. So he's aware of that. He sees the heart in this creepy moment. The tap dancers going.
That's right.
The music goes up and
Yeah.
he takes out
Yeah.
the evidence of him being there. Because on the heart, underneath the heart, her heart is his name about his reading.
All right, I wasn't aware of that.
I read that.
Okay, I wasn't aware when I saw that.
That's why he took it.
Okay, so this is the SL Jackson Radio Show. This is on topfm.net. Hook us up on our Twitter page, SLJ Radio, or you could hook up on Top FM on their Twitter page at ontopfm.net. We're also on Facebook, SL Jackson Radio Show, on Top FM as well. We're going to hit you up with a couple of great reggae tracks. We'll see you after this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
On top, in the house.
Go now. Don't look back. We've drawn the line. Move on. It's so good to go back in time. Oh, I would never find a girl like you. For I'd be anything takes two with fire and ice. Yeah. Sarah, stars operate in your eyes. Sarah, now I can realize. Sarah, you're like a beauty queen. Sarah, dangers. Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Danger in the game when the stakes are high. Branded, heart was branded by my senses advice. Oh, I would never find a girl like you. For I'll be anything takes two with fire and ice. Oh, Sarah, stars operate in your eyes. Sarah, now I can realize. Sarah, those danger in your eyes. Sarah, now I can realize. Love me like you never loved me before. Hurt me like no one has ever hurt me before. Sarah, stars operate in your eyes. Sarah, now I can realize. Sarah, those dangers in your eyes. Sarah, now I can realize.
On top. Let's be real.
Straight to Mr. Babylon. Say, I know your evil plan, Mr. Babylon. Bobby, Bobby, Babylon. You're wrong, man. Bobby, Bobby, Babylon. Trouble, Japan. Bobby, Bobby, Babylon. You're wrong, man. Bobby, Bobby, Babylon. You brought us down here in captivity. Feed us with your brutality. Turn your back on humanity. You got no love and no identity, man. Bobby, Bobby, Babylon. Say you're wrong, man. Bobby, Bobby, Babylon. You should trouble Jaja plan. Bobby, Bobby, Babylon. Cause I am man. Bobby, Bobby, Babylon. You took away our father's gold, robbed them of their sevenfold. Now you're locked behind the door.
Jackson Radio Show. This is on topfm.net. And a couple of tracks you just heard. The big reggae track at the time by Frankie Paul, and that's Sarah. Great piece of music there. And also a track by Freddie McGregor. That's also another beautiful track, big at the time. Okay, Charlie, we're talking about the 1987 movie, the $17 million movie, Angel Heart, starring Robert De Niro,
Mickey Rourke,
and Lisa Bonet.
And Charlotte Rampling.
Yeah.
And so it's about set in 1955 in New York City. It starts off with a detective called Harry Angel, played by Mickey Rourke, who gets commissioned by Louis Cypher, played by Robert De Niro, who says he wants him to find a guy called Johnny Lieblings. And this search leads him to New Orleans in Louisiana. There's been a bunch of murders left in his wake. All the people he's interviewed to find information on Johnny Favorite died. There's like 3 people.
Died in a bad way. We're talking about a guy getting castrated with his testicles being stuffed in his mouth and died of asphyxiation from that. We're talking about a woman who's had her heart cut out. We're talking about another guy who, how did the other one die? He got shot. He apparently shot himself. We've reached a stage now where Harry, he's been paid $5,000 to look for Johnny Favorite.
Yeah.
He's been followed by 2 rednecks, will I say?
Rednecks.
Overweight rednecks with a dog.
Yeah, he stops his car. He goes to pretend he's going to buy some oysters from this stand nearby.
And they just start to batter him.
Yeah.
And beat him with a stick. And he's been warned to keep away. Just get out of town. No more questions.
Yeah.
And
by Ethan Kruzmark, who's Margaret Kruzmark's the lady who got her heart cut out.
Yeah.
Dad.
By the father.
And he goes up to these guys with the oysters and they speak in patois, I think. They're not speaking English.
Some kind of Creole, kind of broken French language.
And you see like people getting baptized earlier and this very southern extreme culture that we're not used to really in Europe.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
That's right. And as this film go on, Mickey Rourke's character's looking more disheveled, unkept, unshaven as it goes on, dirtier. So he then goes back to Epiphany Proudfoot, played by Lisa Bonet, who apparently is the daughter, the child of Johnny Favorites.
Yeah.
He goes back to her, he starts to re-question her again, and she reveals to Harry that Johnny Favorite was her father.
What about your Johnny Favorite?
Oh, so now you remember him after all, huh?
Yeah, it was my father.
Or is her father, because I don't believe she know he's dead. And she says, she don't have nothing to do with him, she don't want to see him, she don't care about him. He asks her age and she reveals that she's 17. And then after he says, okay, we'll see each other again.
Call me or come to my hotel or something.
And I believe that was a kind of invite for a tryst, because I believe they understand the attraction with one another. But I believe also the attraction will find out a real relationship to him, what it was. So I think it could have been a confused, I'm attracted to this girl, I'm attracted to this guy because of another reason, which is very crucial to the story, to the plot, to the old film.
I can't get over how good this film is.
This film is, I hope we're putting it across that this film is a great movie.
When I'm watching it, I don't feel there is a crew behind the camera. I just feel it's the actors and maybe a director there, and that's how intense it is. It's so authentic. It doesn't feel like it was manufactured. It feels very natural.
It's the way how I would imagine Alan Parker liked to work. He actually says he doesn't like to work with British actors. I'm not saying that British actors are not good, but these are his own words that he says. He says they're too staged, they're too technically trained. And this is what he says basically from my research. And he says he loves American actors because a lot of them who are not staged, they train for the movies, they train for the film, and it's a different technique they use. So what you're saying there, it coincides to what he's kind of said about the film.
It is all about the director who, he sets the environment for how these actors are acting. He says the crew stay out of this scene, I just want to be with my actors, and the camera guy and maybe the sound guy, and that's it. I don't want any crew in the background distracting them.
Different actors act different with different directors in different countries, so there's all these kind of algorithms. That's what
It's a good word.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know it is. I borrowed it. Like, it's all these algorithms that's used to make up a good movie. We're in the church, so there's another meeting with Robert De Niro and Mickey Rourke. Mickey's been summoned to meet Robert's character in the church.
Who happens to be in Baton Rouge in Louisiana, inverted commas. Again, it's a second meeting in a church. You know, he's always meeting him in a church.
What happens there now? Mickey's pretty much peed off. He's cussing a bit, and Robert De Niro says, "Hey, remember where you are, man? You're in a church, you know, some respect." So they carry on a conversation. Mickey, that's his employee, so he's his employer. So he's reporting to him to say what's happened, what's he been up to. He's saying he's now wanted in another 2 murder cases. He's really complaining. He's really
flabbergasted.
Peed off,
Look at his face. His acting is brilliant. Mickey Rourke, sweating profusely. His eyes, he's in over his head. You know, he feels his life is in danger now. He's getting beaten up by a couple of guys. He's really creeped out by this.
So how they leave it, basically, Robert De Niro's character say, you know, that's something that, you know, you need to deal with. We just need to find this Johnny Favorite guy. And he's saying to him, who was this Johnny Favorite? What's the contract about? And,
there's all this...
and he tells him, you will find out soon, you know. Yeah. So, of course, he's being paid $5,000, which is quite a lot of money back in them days. So he's willing to pursue the case. He's got this energy for it still, this taste for it still.
And he swears, and De Niro says, "Oh, don't swear in the church."
But he says, "I don't give a damn, you know, I'm gonna swear, you know."
Yeah, I'm not religious.
Who the are you, Cypher?
Watch your language.
Hey, I don't give a if this is a church, okay?
After that meeting, Mickey Rourke returns to his apartment, and who's sitting outside? Epiphany Proudfoot sitting outside. It's raining very heavily. As I said, in New Orleans, it's got good weather, but the sun and the rain are on two opposite sides completely. So it is persistently raining. He invites her into his hotel room. All the water's dripping in from the ceiling. You know, it's not a 4-star. It's probably a -2-star, would you say?
Yeah, or a 1-star.
So all the water's dripping in. I must say that all hotels are like that in New Orleans. You've got some great places to stay. He pours her out a drink. She says she doesn't drink, but he gives her like probably a bourbon or something. And after he starts to get buckets or pails under the dripping ceiling, they start to talk a bit. You know, she says, you know, do you want to dance? And they start to dance. And then after they just begin to make out, make love.
They're very tense.
And it's a very... Alan Parker did mention that he had a lot of trouble with getting a rating on this film because of this particular scene. Well, a lot of the film, but mainly because of this scene. They really tried to hang him out to dry because they said this scene was too graphic. The nudity, the lovemaking in this was really graphic. And it is a very graphic scene, but it's not no more graphic than a lot of other lovemaking scenes. I just believe it's the way it's been intercut with all the other elements, the water coming down, then after the water turns into blood coming from the ceiling.
Johnny has flashbacks of his past as well. He sees an orgy being performed and people just all over
that could
each
be
other.
Epiphany's flashback as well, because I believe there's all these bodies making out. And very importantly, she does tell him, because they talk about her child for a little while, and she just tell him that it was an immaculate conception, basically. She doesn't know who the father was. The child, she just found herself pregnant from probably doing some of these incantations and these spiritual voodoo dances that she became pregnant. And we don't think too much about it in this scene yet, but towards the end of the film we say, oh yes, it makes sense, like, you know. But anyway, it's a very, very graphic sexual scene, this is. And as I said earlier, as I mentioned, this is what contributed to Lisa Bonet. It wasn't said she was fired from the Cosby Show, but they dropped her from the Cosby Show around the time she made this movie. You know, the executive producers apparently wasn't too happy with her making this kind of movie, because the Cosby Show with Bill Cosby, it was a family, awesome, African-American family show, basically. You know, this really kind of tainted image being in that program. So, you know, she was dropped from it.
She wanted to change her image.
She did. Just around when she was married to Lenny Kravitz, he was starting to get really big, and Apparently, you know, she felt the image was a bit too squeaky clean, so she wanted to start doing some material that was a bit more raunchy and stuff like that.
Yeah, so after this love scene, Harry Angel's very distraught. He goes up to a mirror, smashes it.
That's right.
And he looks into the mirror and you can see his broken image. He's very confused at this point.
Yeah, the book was written by
William Hjortsberg.
It's a very good book. He wrote another book called The Legend, I believe.
Yeah, Ridley Scott made that.
Yeah, they made that into a film. And the film's okay. It wasn't a big movie, but he's a very good writer. And I read the book, and Alan stays quite true to the book in most parts, I would say, you know. So after the lovemaking scene, we come to a scene where the same homicide cops visits Mickey Rourke's character, and they tell him about the death of Margaret Kruzmark.
And find out she's rich family.
Yeah, she's from rich white family. We're talking about the deep south, by the way, you know. And in them days, things were a lot more segregated and a lot of racism in that part. This cop said, you know, about Toots, about the African-American guy that was killed, that's not a big deal. But he says to Mickey Rourke, you know, this is a white woman from white rich family, you know. You know, we're on to you now, you know what I mean? You know, you can't leave town. And he spots through the window, because they're talking out on the balcony outside his hotel room, and he sees Lisa Bonet's character sitting on the bed, half naked. He sees the back of her. They have a little altercation where they spill a cup of coffee.
Just off, leave me alone.
Big Jigaboo town, swipe!
You play jump rope with Louisiana law, and I'm gonna stuff your big city smarts right up your New York ass!
And he tells Mickey Rourke's character to get her to clean it up. You know, he doesn't say it in such a pleasant way. Okay, so this is the S.O. Jackson radio show. This is on topfm.net. We're talking about the 1987 film Angel Art. We're gonna go away and we're gonna play a couple of tracks, and we'll see you after this.
On top in the house.
Mother told me, she said, son, please beware. There's a thing called love, and it's everywhere. She said, it can break your heart, turn it into misery. Since I met this little woman, the sad thing has happened to me.
Try to wake the lion when the lion is sleeping. Cause when the lion wake, he will have no feeling.
them tanker. Capture them helicopter. So what? Trade the jeep. Come make we trade the jeep. Catch Reagan and both all of them asleep. We don't touch all of them a bleed. Carry them in the ocean, leave them in the deep. Let all the little fishes just stay up a feast. Get to Babylon, get to the beast. Have them under lock, them now go get released. In the conference, run a lot for jump a fence. Whoa, in the meeting, both are getting beaten. Him try to leave on a rocket, but the trade hijack it. Try to leave on a ship, but him have to take a dip. Babylon on your trip, conquer your tanker, capture your helicopter. So what? Trade the jeep, because the Babylon's Babylon won't carry you to jail house and sleep. You go carry you in the ocean, leave you in the deep. Let all the little fishes have a little feast. Get to Babylon, get to the beast. Have you wanderlock, you now go get released. Danny down, Danny, 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 Danny down. Conqueror, never try to conquer Nazi dreadlocks, no. Conquer your tanker, capture your helicopter. So what? Trade the jeep, because of Babylon cheap. Petrol and butter, all of them asleep. Weed and a touch, all of them a beat. Carry them in the ocean, leave them in the deep. All the little fishes, have a little feast. Get to Babylon, get to the beast. Have them under lock, no release. Babylon try to leave on the first flight. Custom man taking down like taking down a bitchy cat. Costa take a tractor, get the cultivator. Too much people are starved, too much are suffer. Go into the dark, must come into the light. The right, the people's strive. The right, and everything nice. The right. Whoa! Vampire, never try to conquer Nazi dreadlocks. Oh no, we are gonna conquer your tanker.
In the house.
And welcome back to the S.O. Jackson Radio Show. This is on topfm.net. And you just heard a couple of great reggae tracks there. First one being from Alton Ellis and Augustus, and it's called Too Late to Come Back Now. The other one by Blackie Uru, and it's called Conquer the Tanker. Two great reggae tracks there. And we're talking about the 1987 film Angel Heart.
Mickey Rourke is playing a detective called Harry Angel. He's been commissioned by a character called Louis Cypher, played by Robert De Niro, to find a singer called Johnny Favorite or Johnny Lieblings. And this search takes him to New Orleans. Harry Angel, he's asking different people, relevant people, if they know this guy. And he leaves a trail of murder.
Murder and mayhem and sacrificial kind of murder. We see there's two guys that's been set upon Mickey Rourke's character by one of the murdered victims' father, Cruise Mark. Here we see him running from a couple of redneck guys to hurt Mickey Rourke. And he runs into a stable, shots are fired, and
he gets motivated to go visit this Ethan Cruisemark, Margaret Cruisemark's dad. And we find out Ethan Cruisemark is Edward Kelly, the guy who took out Johnny Favorite from that hospital, that medical institute at the start of the film. And him and his daughter took him out from that hospital.
There's horse riding, there's a lot of outdoor activity that they do in that part of the world. He meets the father there. He looks kind of flamboyant, about in his 70s, early 70s, and he's talking about Johnny Favorite. And the father's saying basically, you know, you just need to drop everything. Mickey Rourke's character's kind of getting enraged. The father, Edward Cruisemark, invites him inside, and he wants to go into a more private place. So they go inside, they pass a big pot where they're making some gumbo gumbo soup. Those of you who are familiar with gumbo soup, is a lovely, I should say, Southern American soup with lots of shrimps and everything in it. So it's in this big, massive pot, and that's intricate, why I mention it. So they go into another room, basically, and they start to talk. It's an ice room, basically. So in them days, they would have an ice room to keep everything cool. Mickey Rourke, again, he locks the door. Wherever there's like murders being committed, he's always locking the door. And he gets an ice pick and he's stabbing away at the ice, the blocks of ice. Mickey Rourke is, as he's interrogating, if want for a better word, interrogating Cruzmark, the father of the dead girl. He's asking him about Johnny's character, about this Johnny character.
He's really irritated at this point. He's really picking away at this ice pick. And Ethan, he's revealing his relationship to Johnny's character. You know, they were all devil worshippers. They were all into the occult. He was probably a devil worshipper as well. And his daughter was into that stuff because maybe he passed off some of that into her. And he mentions how she was into her tarot cards before she could even read. And he's going on about how Johnny wanted stardom, he wanted fame. Margaret Cruzmark, his daughter, fell in love with him. He conjured up the devil and all this information.
I introduced Johnny Favorite to my daughter. He was very powerful. I once watched him conjure up Lucifuge in my living room. He was in it much deeper than me. He made a pact with Satan. He sold his soul.
You expect me to swallow that?
Swallow it? He sold his soul for stardom.
For stardom? Are you? That's a
Mickey Rourke's character is going mental. He's like, I don't believe this. It's crazy, you know? How could this be true? And he's like, listen, the devil's real. We worshipped him. I saw him in our living room. He conjured him. He sold his soul. Johnny sold his soul to him to be famous.
You read or you hear about even a lot of so-called stars in present days taking on certain spiritualness for fame. In other words, selling their soul for fame. So in a way, this is what this film conjures up. We've got a guy, Johnny Favorite, who apparently worships the devil for fame, basically. You know, sells his soul, does demonic things so that he could be rich and famous and things like that. As Mickey Rourke's character is giving the Cruzmark character, the Inquisition, questioning him, he's having flashbacks. Mickey Rourke's character's having flashbacks about 1943 in New York again.
Yeah, Times Square.
Yeah, in Times Square.
Just before they go out to war. And he's telling him Johnny didn't want to, he sold his soul, but when you die, you go to hell, basically. So Johnny, he had an issue with that. He didn't want to sell his soul anymore. He wanted to duck out that deal. He read something about, in an ancient manuscript, about if you kill someone, if you rip out their heart, your age, and you eat their heart, then their soul will come into you. You have the same body, same mind, but a different soul, so the devil doesn't recognize your original soul anymore. The idea is the devil obviously wanted this debt paid, and he realizes slowly that he was Johnny all along.
Yes, so in other words, he was just looking for himself. Mickey Rourke realizes that he was Johnny Favorite, he done all those killings, and that the person who hired him as Robert De Niro is named Louis Cypher. If you put that name together, it's actually Lucifer, which is another name of the devil. So basically, he was hired by the devil to find himself, basically. And it all comes tumbling down. The house of cards has fallen now.
Yeah, the logic, if you don't know you've sold your soul to the devil, then you have to know, you have to be aware of it for the devil to take it. You have to be aware that you made a deal with the devil. So that's why De Niro's character took him onto this investigation, so that he can slowly understand that he is Johnny and that he did sell his soul to the devil.
Yeah, Johnny Favorite.
So he owes his soul to him.
So he took on his personality, he took on his soul.
He realizes he's killed this guy, Ethan Cruzmark. He's shoved his face down the boiling tub of gumbo, and he's run towards his daughter Margaret Cruzmark's house. Goes to the vase where he's told that they put the dog tags of the original soldier that they grabbed off the street in New York. He sees his name is Harold Angel.
That is further proof that he was just looking for himself, and he shouts out and he screams, he can't believe it. And sitting in the room is the devil Lucifer, played by Robert De Niro. This time he's got his hair out, his nails have grown, and he's just basically telling him, you flunked out on a deal you had with me. Now it's revealed you would surely go to hell.
For 12 years, you've been living on borrowed time and another man's memories.
The flesh is weak, Johnny. Only the soul is immortal.
us belongs to me.
But there's one major point that we're coming to as well. If he then is the real Johnny Favorite, Harry Angel, Mickey Rourke's character, realizes then that his daughter is Epiphany Proudfoot. So he's got to deal with this ancestral relationship now, that he actually made love with his daughter. Once Robert De Niro's character, he disappears in the apartment, and after he puts two and two together and he races back to his hotel room where he last left Epiphany Proudfoot.
And the cops are there. She's been murdered on his bed. He killed her.
He shot her, and it's a very gruesome death. These guys, the cops say to him now, you know, you're definitely going to burn for this. And he says, I know.
You're going to burn for this, Angel.
In hell.
They bring Epiphany's young boy from the back room. His eyes just lights up orange, just as it did a moment ago when Robert De Niro was talking to him, revealing that he is the devil. His eyes lit up. And the ending, of course, we vaguely hear them saying Johnny Favorite, and a voice saying Harry Angel.
We see Harry Angel going down to hell.
We kept on seeing elevators in the movie, so that is kind of
the metaphor for
that is
hell.
kind of a metaphor into hell.
Yeah.
So that's the 1987 $17 million Angel Heart, starring Mickey Rourke, Robert De Niro, Lisa Bonet, and Charlotte Rampling. For me, it's a great movie. It really is a good movie. You got to have a certain kind of stomach to watch it. It's a very gruesome, dark movie. It's very well shot, very well acted, and you know, it conjures up for me of how great Alan Parker is as a filmmaker. You know, many times we talk about the Scorsese's, Coppola's, the Spike Lee's, the Tarantino's, the Michael Manns of this world, and the Steve Lloyd Jackson, but we don't talk about like Alan Parker. And there's a few gem of directors out there that, you know, we seem to skim over all the time. I really do love this film. It's very educational as well. What do you reckon, Charlie?
Yeah, just makes you think, what if this stuff's real? You think it is?
Well, I don't know. I really don't know. But it's a film that really gets to you. You know, you'd always remember this movie. Hats off to Alan Parker and all the crew and all the actors that done this movie. This is the S.L. Jackson Radio Show. This is ontopfm.net. You could get us on TuneIn Radio as well. You know, just download the app for TuneIn and just keep it locked on ontopfm.net. We'll see you next Tuesday just after midnight GMT with another edition of the S.L. Jackson Radio Show.
Thank you.
And good night.